What's happening in Oklahoma? This is the Oklahoma Memo for Friday, August the 22nd. Help me out with the newsletter and sign up at oklahomamemo.com. 6 more of you, and we're at 700 people getting this daily Oklahoma news recap. I hope you'll find it to be a big time saver. And today we've got so much to talk about. Ryan Walters. First, Non-Doc broke the story yesterday that his office has asked for a lawyer just in case criminal charges are handed down by the district attorney. Now, based on what I've seen, just being honest here, I don't know what those charges could possibly be, criminal charges I'm talking about, unless he did something to obstruct the investigation. But there's that, and we don't know. Also, I want to shout out my former newsroom, News 9, and anchor and friend of mine, Robin Marsh, who put on a journalism masterclass on how to push back with class, with niceness, when she interviewed Ryan Walters on Thursday. I write about that in today's newsletter, again, at oklahomamemo.com. Big story today from Oklahoma Voice. Oklahoma governor taking aim at Tulsa mayor in continued dispute over Tulsa's agreement with Muscogee Nation. And a follow-up from Tulsa World regarding Nichols' response to Governor Stitt. But also in that mix is another story from Non-Doc, who does great work about the city of Henrietta's response to a lawsuit by Muscogee Nation. The lawsuit alleges that Henryetta has been violating the McGirt decision by prosecuting tribal citizens. Now, the city argues that they actually have jurisdiction via an 1898 law called the Curtis Act. Why is this all such a big deal? Here is the easiest way I can explain it. The state's perspective is that McGirt created an unnecessary process that ultimately slows down the justice system and allows at least some of the guilty to escape it. The tribal perspective is that McGirt is about self-governance and sovereignty, which the U.S. federal government via the Supreme Court has already decided. Okay, quickly, some headlines around the state. From Oklahoma Voice, Oklahoma County officials air concerns about jail lawsuits and insurance coverage issues. From KOSU, as some states prepare to cut junk foods from SNAP, rural grocers face more costs. From KFOR, an HOA has sued Google after construction begins for new data center. From Oklahoma City Free Press, OKC Mayor David Holt defends diversity in New York Times essay. And from KSWO in Lawton, cool story here, Fort Sill basic trainees sworn in as United States citizens. If you enjoy these Oklahoma news wrap-ups, give me a follow wherever you find this, and please consider subscribing to the free, always free, newsletter at oklahomamemo.com. Have a great weekend.